Okay, next week I'll get back to Doom. It is nice to be home. I've been traveling for the better part of the past 2 weeks. So, this was a unique one that someone threw out a while ago that I've been doing some research on. It's a bit more difficult with these two characters given their places and what they've actually done. So we have Magneto and Sinestro. These two guys actually make a really perfect sort of pairing for this. Think of Sinestro. Sinestro ruled the planet with an iron fist. Okay? You could look at him as the evil dictator. You could look at someone who's genocidal. You could look at him at that level. Now Magneto. Magneto to some, savior, other, terrorist. You could very easily picture someone like Magneto on the planet Corridor. You can easily see Magneto being somebody who's trying to be driven under the boot of Sinestro while at the same time orchestrating an uprising of the people to eventually try to overthrow him. There's a lot of really good chemistry between those two from the way they've been written. So, and they both have this really almost kind of high and mighty appreciation of themselves. Sinestro, even though he's truly a cosmic level threat, he's definitely someone who believes what he's doing is right and it's correct. He's willing to do it by any means necessary. Magneto believes he's right and is willing to do whatever it takes to make it necessary. So the two of them actually have a lot in common. And I do these fights through a 9 criteria system. Intelligence. This is how well are they at planning. What are some of the most impressive things they've done from an intellectual standpoint. Fighting ability. This is their raw, no powers. How do they actually fight? Strength. Speed. Durability. This is how well do they recover. Invulnerability. Energy projection, versatility, and X factor. If it's 5-4, person with 5 more than likely would win. 6-3, you can kind of figure it out. I'm going to jump back and forth a little bit because the way I've got it written out, I don't want to give away an ending too soon. So we got intelligence. I had to go back through and think of okay, I know Magneto has been able to orchestrate essentially blacking out the entire Earth. He needed technological help, but he has done it. And other things, I'm not including the Ultimates universe, so don't even put things from the Ultimates universe into this. He's very much been good when it comes to being a global threat. But not because he wants mutants to be able to live in peace. So he's been able to do a pretty good job of manipulating and defeating, your Fantastic Fours, your Avengers, your X-Men. He's done a good job there. Sinestro, on the other hand, plus he also had the Acolytes, so he did a pretty good job when it came to ruling a country and having a really good standing army of very devoted followers. Sinestro, on the other hand, only got the Sinestro core. A true cosmic level threat that made him essentially the equivalent to the Green Lantern Corps. The fact that he was able to attack the Citadel. He attacked Oa, and he was able to break free people like Cyborg Superman, Superboy Prime. And he was able to essentially manipulate the Guardians into making the Green Lanterns killers. I'm thinking of the fact he's manipulated Immortals several times, to the point where even if you defeat him, he still wins. I'm sorry, Sinestro definitely takes it when it comes to how well he's been trained and how well he is at executing a plan and controlling a massive network of individuals. Acolytes, great group, very powerful, but still global threat. Where one Sinestro Corps member can pretty easily conquer a planet, if properly motivated. Fighting ability. This one I kind of had to go back and forth with. I've seen Magneto hold his own very well against some of your mid to high tier brawlers. That's normally because of all of his enhanced abilities, so he doesn't really truly have a great fighting skill to him. Sinestro has shown he's actually pretty good when it comes to hand-to-hand combat. Multiple forms of alien martial arts, so he's almost like a mixed martial arts with a power ring. Strength. I'd look at this, if they are aided by their ring, what exactly can they do? Or aided by their powers? Magneto has been able to lift things like like aircraft carriers. He's been able to do a pretty good job when it comes to lifting very, very large objects. However, it normally shows him having a decent amount of strain. Sinestro has also thrown aircraft carriers. He's thrown very, very large things. And his power allows him to throw virtually anything he can get a hold of. And he's also in overall better physical conditioning. So actually I like the strength that's to Sinestro. This one, again, I can see being debated. Speed. This one, the best that Magneto's done is he's actually been able to physically tag Northstar. Northstar is near light. And I was like, well, how well does he handle someone like Flash? He doesn't handle Flash very well. So you have a guy who definitely is beyond light speed versus a guy who takes someone who's near light speed. But then I look at what other things. Magneto actually has enhanced reflexes. Sinestro technically doesn't. So if I'm looking at his pure raw speed, Sinestro with the Sinestro core ring actually can travel at light speed. Yes, they can also do transluminal warp, but I don't include teleportation as a true measurement of speed. So I've got definitely better direct point-to-point speed versus a guy who has really good point-to-point speed, but also has enhanced reflexes. So I think I'll actually give the speed edge definitely to someone like Magneto. Durability. How are these guys' stamina? How are these guys going to come, if the fight gets longer, who's going to get tired? This one I took to the absolute extreme. A Sinestro core ring can be depowered. It'll take a tremendously long fight. Once that ring begins to diminish in power, Sinestro's going to have some issues. As long as Magneto is near any planet with a core, he can pull from and be nourished by the electromagnetic field of a planet or planetary object. Fully nourished, not going to get tired. That is tremendous. One person, he's carrying his power source. The other person is pretty much standing on his power source. Invulnerability. I was looking at the true measure of what is the most destructive thing they've taken and laughed it off. Power rings have taken nuclear blasts, as well as survived going through black holes. That's pretty impressive for kind of having to buffer their shield. Their normal default shield can take tremendous amount of alien laser blasts from frigates, from very large craft. So they're taking shots from alien spaceships, and they're doing pretty well. Magneto, yes, he has taken direct shots from Thor. He has taken some very heavy shots. He has taken blasts from the Phoenix Force level attack, and he's been able to weather it pretty well. But he still shows some signs of wear and tear. So out of all of that, I actually kind of give the invulnerability edge to Sinestro. They've shown that a power ring can take a tremendous higher amount of physical abuse and still retain a lot of its initial function. It's not being drained a lot when it's taking a shock from a nuclear explosion. Raw energy projection. This one I had to kind of go, okay, what is the most devastating thing I've seen Sinestro do with his ring? I know that they can produce nuclear explosions. I'm aware of that. I had to try to think if I've ever actually seen a Sinestro member actually do that. Yes, Kyle did mention when he's taking on Nero that you can use the ring to split atoms. It's difficult, but you can do it. Where Magneto has actually created a wormhole. That's a pretty impressive show of power. He's also sent an EMP shot that more or less people said was the equivalent of a nuclear explosion. So, in theory, Yellow Ring can do it. Magneto has done a move that puts it very close to it. Now I'm going to jump to X Factor. This is kind of a bizarre one. Depending on your definition of what a yellow energy attack is, sometimes it's a hard light construct. Other people say it's the actual physical embodiment of the elemental of fear. Either way, it's based on the electromagnetic spectrum. It is a form of light. when Jeff Johns reclassified everything, he used the Roy G. Biv, which is electromagnetic spectrum of light. Well, one person has shown the ability to disrupt light. So that kind of means then that Magneto can potentially disrupt anything that Sinestro's going to do. It might be kind of hard at first, because he's shown that he can do that with other people. I mean, he was able to very easily, I think I want to say if he detonated Dazzler or not, by Porus taking all the energies out and ripping it out. So he does have the ability. It might be a little more tricky since it's actually coming from an alien technology source, but he stands a pretty good chance of being able to do it. So right now we're tied up. So we're down to versatility. Who has the better depth of skills? I actually had to find I found a nice essay. And this is what made this one really difficult. Because first I'm like, Yellow Lantern ring. This is a cakewalk. He totally takes it when it comes to versatility. It is whatever he can imagine. And Sinestro can imagine a lot. And then I saw some stuff that Magneto's been able to do. So the person's nervous system. Okay. Manipulating the iron and blood. Okay. Manipulating energy. Generate energy. Manipulating matter on a subatomic scale. Okay. It's not a few times. That's pretty good, you know. I'm okay with that. So you also got deflecting gamma rays and X-rays, manipulating heat, affecting things thousands of miles away, magnetic vortex, wormholes, which I already mentioned again, altering the Earth's crust, traveling in space, manipulating the Phoenix Force, manipulating gravity and astral travel, partial discorporation. So everything can become almost kind of like vision. And I was like, man, I would not have given him that much props. I mean, I know he can do a tremendous amount less because he's a very old character, so he's got a lot of really interesting feats. Ripping somebody in half. There's a lot of things that he can do. He's got a lot of tools at his disposal. And I was like, man, he might actually have a versatility edge. But then I sat back and I was like, well, Sinestro knows of people like Dr. Polaris. He knows Dr. Polaris. But Dr. Polaris is a very good Magneto clone. And I was like, and he's fought other people who have magnetic abilities. And he's fought people who are considered global threats. He's done a very good job defeating them. He's also held his own against people like Superman. And I think that the fact that he can use that ring to prey on the fear of an individual. So beyond what he can naturally do with the ring and his tremendous amount of experience as a Green Lantern, I'm going to have to give the last piece and the victory to Sinestro. I think when it comes down to it, the ability to do whatever he can think of. And there are things that he has done that are just like, wow. Whether it's create a really bizarre, intricate construct, whether it's actually using the ring to actually affect and pull out some of the internal fears of the individual. One of Magneto's biggest fears is that he wants to be the person fighting the good fight, not the person who's controlling and dominating. Because then he's no better than the person he's fighting against. If these two were to have a battle, and it's getting closer towards the end, you know, Sinestro, the moment he begins to really, we'll say it happens on Korugar, the moment Magneto really begins to get a true upper hand on Sinestro, and the people begin to cheer him, he might have one of those moments where he'll be like, wait a minute, I've got the population with me. The moment he hesitates, and the moment Sinestro uses that ring to prey upon that fear, because Sinestro's going to be constantly pulling bits and pieces from it, because he's very good when it comes to very slight telepathic attacks. He's going to know, he's going to be able to pull some of those things. And I'm pretty sure the moment he uses that ring to show how Nazi Germany was at Hitler, and people cheering, and the moment Magneto makes that connection with, well, wait a minute, am I the bad guy? Am I the good guy fighting the bad guy, or am I the bad guy fighting the good guy? The moment he believes himself to be a bad guy, Sinestro's got the upper hand. Sinestro has shown that he's very good at taking an opponent who has him outclassed and cheating and sneaking out a win. Doesn't matter how. And even if Magneto were to defeat Sinestro, Sinestro in some way, shape, or form will still have won. That was Sinestro Corps War. He was on the losing side, but he won. Sinestro can pull out a win in this sort of fight. It's going to be a tough fight. It's going to be a hard-fought fight. This is not going to be a curb stomp. But I think at the end of the day, Sinestro does defeat Magneto.